in. It's so good to see you. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to our weekly Powernomics training, Dr. Boyce Book Club, aka whatever you want to call it. It's so good to see all of you. Let me see who's in here. Let's see. I see Alicia and let's see, Abel and the Linda Kid, Nigel Court. I see you, Philip Moss. Let's see, AC Salam, Ralph, Ryan Jackson. Let's see here, Polly Lyons, Tracy Gordon Mangum, sorry, Royal Calhoun, Akila Hooker, good to see you. Sheila Neighbors, Shamita, good to see everybody. Good to see you. I see New York and California in here, and we are all over the world, all over the country, all over the planet, all over the globe. Dr. Vibe, good to see you, my brother. And I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope that your life is treating you the way that it should. This has been a great week for us. I'm very proud. I got up and took my chubby butt to the gym this morning, and me and my wife were able, get back, and we did our money in the morning. Which, in case you guys haven't gotten an invite, just text the word morning to 87948. We do that every single morning, 7 days a week. And we do that every day because we want to get in the right habits. We want to have the right type of thinking to align ourselves with whatever our goals are supposed to be, whoever the heck we're supposed to be. Because I think personally that one of our biggest challenges, actually, as a community, is the brainwashing. There's a lot of brainwashing in the Black community in terms of what history has done. It's not just things that are being done now in terms of media and all that. There's a lot of brainwashing that also happens historically. And Dr. Claude Anderson has really revealed a lot of this. And I'm actually going to read some things to you today that will help you understand the history of this. Remember, you were trained to be a slave. There's nothing in the history of America that was training masses of Black people to become owners of businesses. There was nothing training the masses of Black people to be smarter than everyone else. There's nothing designed to train you to be the owners of property. That all kind of happened by accident. And so one of the reasons that Black people don't own businesses and don't run institutions is largely because that's not your role. That's not the position that you were given. Right? A lot of times, for example, if you play for a football team and they intend on you being the wide receiver, and you say, "But I thought I would play the quarterback," then you're going to be confused. You're going to come in and expect to play a position that's really not your position. They're going to say, "No, no, 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 no. We have somebody else that's going to play the quarterback. They're going to throw the ball. Your job is to catch it." So in the economy, in black economics and really white economics too, there are different roles that people play, different positions, and this is on my mind because I was actually explaining some of this to my daughter's friend. One of not only do our kids work for us, but if any of the neighborhood kids want a job, we if they work hard and do a good job, I will hire them. So I've hired a few of the kids, and they work for me and do things for me. I'm really strict. I will fire you in a minute, and I set very clear standards of what my expectations are. But if you meet the expectations, I tell them, look, if you meet the expectation, I'm going to make you rich. I'm going to pay you very well for your time, but I ain't got no time for BS. Successful people, which I want to be, I like to believe that I'm trying to be. Successful people just don't have time for silliness and nonsense and things that are going to throw off the agenda. So anyway, one of the young ladies that works for us, I was explaining to her something that I heard one of the Rockefellers say. And what John D. Rockefeller, there was one point where Rockefeller literally said something really fascinating, where he said that he said, if you spend all your time at work, how do you have time to make any money? And that was literally a confusing statement for a lot of people, because if you think about it, why do people go to work? Why do people get up and go to work every day? It's not because they enjoy it usually. It's because they're making money, right? They say, okay, this is my financial play. This is my economic move. So how in the heck would that be the case? And I so I just explained to her. I said, in this economy, you've got the horses and you have the jockeys. You have the people that the jockeys get all the credit, the horses do all the work. I said, in America, unfortunately, the hardest working people in America are the ones who pay most of the taxes, then fund the government. The hardest working people in America are the ones who stimulate the economy. The hardest working people in America are the ones who pay rent to the landlords. The hardest working people in America are the people who pretty much make this country go. Those are the workers. And unfortunately, what is really true is that the people that make lots of money, and because we were talking about investing, and I love it. You know me, I'm an old dad, so when I get excited when a kid comes and asks me about opening an investment account or whatever. So I had to explain to her. I said, the people that really make a lot of money in America are the people that work the least. Actually, you have to sure you got to work maybe to run your business and stuff like that, but you're doing work that you enjoy, or you're doing work where you did a lot of work in the past, and you get paid in the future for work that you did in the past. So, for example, I make money from a lot of the work that I did in the 1990s because in the 1990s I was in school studying 7 or 8 hours a day trying to get my PhD. So now, 20 something years later, I still am able to generate income from things that I did in 1991. Right? That's crazy, right? That's absolutely. Some of y'all weren't even born in 1991. So anyway, so the point of the matter was to say that I was explaining to her just how the economy works and that there are different people that are put into different positions. And I said, do not let them position you inappropriately. Do not let them put you in a position where you're going to be doing all the work and getting fewer of the rewards. I said also, it's smart that you're investing now. I said, I'm really, really proud of you for investing right now because when you invest, not only will you be secured long term, not only will you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in your retirement account by the time you retire, but between now and then, you're going to be able to buy the things that money can't buy. You see, money isn't just a be all end all. Money buys you things that the money can't buy, like peace of mind and security and happiness, and you can sleep at night. And I told her, I said, and I like having real candid conversations with kids. And I said, a lot of people don't feel that way. A lot of people are very unhappy with their lives. They're very stressed out and they're very overwhelmed. I said, when as you get older and you go to college, you're going to start reading articles about how everybody in your generation, I said, you're Gen Z, right? Because, I got to keep up because there's a new generation coming out every 5 seconds, it seems like. And so I said, you're Gen Z, right? She said, yeah, I'm Gen Z. I said, yeah, well, there's articles you're going to see everywhere about how Gen Zers can't afford to do anything. You can't afford to pay rent. You can't afford to go to the bathroom. You can't afford to buy a house. You can't afford to do nothing. And I said, I don't want you in that position. I said, because we've adopted you as our daughter. I call her daughter, right? Because you got the daughter and then the daughter. So I said, since we've adopted you, I want to see you do well. I want to see you happy in life. So this is the secret. So here's the other part that was really crazy. Since we're talking about this, and I hope it's okay if I share this story. So I was talking to her about buying stock, right? Because she was like, well, how do I buy stock? Like, what do I do? I was thinking about this and thinking about that. And I said, look, here's the first mistake a lot of people make. The big mistake a lot of people make is they overthink it because it can be very complicated. And I said, I could probably say a lot of words about investing that will make your head spin, that will make you really feel like it's super complicated and that only elite people who really have specialized knowledge can actually do it. I said, but I asked her that simple question I've asked a lot of you. I said, are you smarter than a monkey? And she did what I expected. She kind of laughed. She kind of laughed, said, yeah. And I said, okay. And then I explained to her the Burton Malkiel monkey experiment in 1971, where he taught monkeys how to invest by throwing darts at a wall. And I said, the monkeys made money. The monkeys made more money than a lot of people who get up and go to work every day. The monkeys made more money than a lot of people who've been working 30, 40 years since the 90s, since the 80s. I said, the monkeys made more money than a lot of people that have very high IQs. I said, the reason the monkeys made money is because they didn't overthink it. They just did the basics, and that made a difference, right? So if you go to blackwealthmasterplan.com, I've told you guys about that URL. I like to recite that to you because I want you to just go there. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. And blackwealthmasterplan.com is the $5 a day plan. The $5 a day plan is literally how you build wealth like the monkeys. And so anyway, I then said, I said, you know what? Come in my office. Let me show you something. Let me show you something real quick. So I pulled out my phone and I said, here's what I want. Here's what I'm saying when I don't want you to overthink it. So I pulled out my phone and I said, let's buy stock in a company. And she said, okay. I said, what company do you want to buy stock in? She said, Chipotle. I said, okay, let's find Chipotle. So I found it and I said, this is what you call it. This is the ticker symbol. And then I said, okay, so this is how you buy. You tell her how many shares you want. I said, but you don't have to buy a whole share. You can just buy $200 worth. So we bought $200 worth. And I said, okay, so I hit the button. I said, okay, now as of tomorrow morning, when the market opens, our family will be owners of Chipotle. And now I think I already own Chipotle, but now we own a little bit more. Now when Chipotle's money goes up, our money goes up. And she gave the greatest reaction. She goes, "That was so cool." And I liked it because if you're 50 something years old, you ain't never cool. I'm like so not the cool guy. I wasn't even cool when I was like 25 years old. So how am I gonna be cool at 52? I don't know. I gave up trying to be cool, but I thought it was really cool to be cool for a minute. So really what I want to encourage you to do, here's what I want to encourage you to do today. Before we jump into the reading, we're going to read Dr. Claude Anderson's book. It's the Black History Reader. We've been reading this book for years. We've been reading Dr. Anderson's books for years. Before we jump into the book, I want to encourage you, have those quick conversations with your kids. Have those quick conversations. I'm serious, because those little conversations will change everything for them. That will open just a beautiful Pandora's box of possibility that is far greater than anything that white supremacy is ever going to give them. It's greater than anything that that employer is ever going to give them. Better than anything that that college is going to give them. You know, we got to do this. These are our kids. These are our responsibilities. Nobody else's responsibility. If we don't do it, who's going to do it? If we don't take care of our young, who's going to do it for us? Give me a yes if you understand. Give me a yes if you agree. Give me a yes if you are going to consciously get out here and do something a little bit different with your kids, somebody else's kids. I'm one of these simping black men who believes that all children are our children. I believe in the village. I believe in all of us taking care of each other's kids, because some of these parents out here are raggedy. Some of them are stuck. Some of them are stuck in child in in juvenile behavior. You know, you got a lot of 50-year-old teenagers walking around here. So I actually am a person that believes that all these kids, any kid that comes in my path, that's my child. I'm going to talk to you as if you're my own, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help make your life a little bit better, because that's the best thing I can do as a black man. So if you can understand where I'm coming from on that, then I hope that you will just scoop up those damn little kids and tell them what you know, and make sure you give them just a little bit of information that's going to make their life better. Because just understand, when you're hanging out with me every single day, some of y'all come in every day for financial consciousness training. You're in here all the time in the Black Business School. You're not just getting a standard education. You are on cutting edge in terms of economic understanding. There's no institution that covers black wealth the way we do. No place that understands it better. We have more PhDs, more therapists, more attorneys, more business people that are connected with what we're doing here, and we are a think tank. We're killing it. We are right on the edge. All these things that other people won't solve for another 60 years, we solved them 10 years ago. So what I want you to understand is how valuable the knowledge inside your head is. I want you to understand it doesn't have to be complicated for it to be powerful. Just give them the little lessons, set them on a different trajectory. You have to do this, because if you don't, they're going to get stuck. And when they get stuck, they're going to become slaves. And when they become slaves, that's going to affect their mental health. They're going to be stuck in debt. They're going to be stuck in a job that they hate. They're going to be stuck in bad relationships where your daughter is sleeping with some old fat, stinky ass man because she's trying to get $500 to pay the rent. We don't want our kids in those situations, because that affects so many other aspects of their mental and physical health. So get them financially free so they can find themselves, find their purpose, and be the best that they can be. All right. So anyway, do me a favor. By the way, if you want to join us for financial consciousness training tomorrow, it's free. We do it every morning at 10 a.m. Just text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text morning to the number 87948. Also, just a reminder, we have a lot of new apparel. I hope you don't mind me mentioning this. We have new apparel and everything, Black Wealth apparel in the Black Wealth store, where we've got flashcards and workbooks and study guides and even stuff on love and money, kids and money, all kinds of stuff that you can take a look at. So feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. That's drboycebooks.com. We have a bunch of copies of Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Powernomics. We are one of the main benefactors of the Harvest Institute, which is his think tank. Unfortunately, these celebrities, they don't give any money to what Dr. Anderson's been doing in the Harvest Institute, but we do. The Black Business School has donated probably, I'm going to guess, close to $1 million at this point. We do, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 worth of business at a time. So one of the things that we do is we just bought a bunch of books from the Anderson family, and we didn't pay wholesale price. As I said, I don't want a discount. We paid retail price. We paid full price for this. So we're not really making a profit from selling the books, but the books are in the bookstore. So if you go to drboycebooks.com and you haven't got copies of the books, you can go in there and grab a few and give them away to your relatives as Christmas gifts, stuff like that. And remember, summertime's coming, so that's your chance to really educate the kids. Okay, so give me 1 second. I'm going to shoot out a text to let others know that we are here. Let me see here. All right, so we're going to start reading from the Black History Reader, which now that book we don't have. And you can get that at powernomics.com. Powernomics.com is Dr. Anderson's website. So feel free to go to powernomics.com to get a copy of that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. And he's talking today about the slave codes. And he asked this question, which is really powerful, on page 122, question number 39. He says, did the slave codes of 1705 intentionally inflict psychological damage on black people? Okay, so first off, let's just do a straw poll. Give me a yes or no. Do you think the slave codes, do you think the something called the slave codes inflicted psychological damage on black people? What do y'all think? You think maybe the slave codes might have actually done a number on black folks? Do you think that that was the goal? Do you think that was that intentional or accidental? You think that they were trying to help us with the slave codes? What y'all think? All you got to do is just watch like little stuff that's happening right now. Like I can point out probably 10 things about the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar that is a result of the slave codes, right? Just even the way we handle disputes is a result of the slave codes. But anyway, he says here that the slave codes were laws that severely restricted slave behavior and were intended to prevent slave uprisings and rebellion. So their number one problem was, how do we control these black people? And so they created these slave codes in order to manage you and to keep you in your position. Remember, play your position. The slave codes imposed harsh physical punishment on slaves. The black man was a particular target. Black men were the natural guardians of the race and the family. See, remember in the beginning when I was telling you that I believe as a black man it's my job to look after the babies, and anytime I see a black child, that's my child, even if it's only for 10 minutes. Well, that's me reclaiming and clearly claiming my manhood. That to me was a statement I felt compelled to make out of masculinity. You can see a lot of that masculinity has been drained when you see how many people in our community care nothing about the children. They care nothing about what happens to the community. They care nothing about the trash on the street. They care nothing about about children being abandoned. They care nothing about the community falling apart, not having businesses. That's a reflection on us. That's really a reflection on us. And if you, to the extent that you believe that the black man has sort of a natural masculine right, ability, and opportunity slash obligation to be a defender and a protector of something, that is really a reflection on us. I think that makes us look bad when we're walking around here blind, deaf, dumb, ignorant, crazy, drug addicted, not caring about the kids, just disrespecting the women and all that. That makes us look sloppy. And I say that without any regard to what the women are doing. Don't get me wrong. I think some of the women have neglected their responsibility as well. But I personally feel that accountability has to start at home. So I can't talk about what the women are doing without first talking about how I'm showing up as a man. And a lot of men will criticize women before they criticize themselves. That right there tells me that you got off on the wrong foot. That tells me that you're not prepared to be accountable for anything. So, long story short, so here's what he says here. He says the black man was a particular target. Black men were the natural guardians of the race and the family. But the success of slavery depended on the ability of the slaveholders to crush and control the black man. So, in order for them to control you, in order for them to maintain their power, they had to find the most masculine men in the community and crush them, destroy them, rip their souls out of their body, take away all power that they have. And in fact, actually, you see this happen all over the place. Hip hop is one of the most hyper masculine spaces that there are. All you see is a bunch of chest thumping and loud, just I'm the best, I'm this, F you, I'm blah 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 blah. You see a lot of that sort of gorilla like alpha male behavior, but it's not really alpha male behavior. It's more beta male behavior because I noticed, for example, if you look in hip hop, first of all, hip hop is not a black owned business. Hip hop is not a black owned business. Hip hop is a white owned business with black employees. That's what it is. It's a white owned business with black mascots. It's like if I go to McDonald's, Ronald McDonald does not run McDonald's. Ronald McDonald is not the CEO of McDonald's. Ronald McDonald is the mascot of McDonald's. But you see Ronald when you go to McDonald's. You see Ronald, and you see the employees wearing the little McDonald's hats, but they're not the people who actually make the decisions in that institution. Do you understand? So effectively in hip hop, we are the Ronald McDonald's of hip hop. We are the clowns. We're the loud ones. We're the ones who get out here and say a whole lot of stuff. And what's interesting too is that you'll see rappers that will beef incessantly with each other. They'll shoot each other up, just kill each other in the street. But you've never seen, how many times have you ever seen a rapper beef with I don't know, the Jewish community and their control of hip hop? Have you ever seen a rapper beef with the Jewish community and survive that? Kanye West kind of did. I mean, I think honestly, I think he kind of went a little bit too far, but still though, and we did talk about that. But at the same time though, he and you saw what happened with him. I remember being on the phone with Kanye when JP Morgan Chase that day was reaching out to say, if you don't take your $140 million out of the bank by Tuesday, we're going to send you a cashier's check and give you your money back. That was literally what was happening at that moment. So effectively, you saw kind of what happened with him, and so effectively, so here's my point though. I think it's really interesting though, right? Like you are big and bad and tough when it comes to fighting other black people, but you won't take on white supremacy. You won't take on the school system. You won't take on the Democrat or Republican parties. You won't take on the people who actually own the record labels. You've never heard a rapper beef with Universal Records or whatever. Maybe Prince did that. Prince did that, and that was very hard for him. So effectively, that desire and ability to control the black man kind of says that we see the black man as this powerful masculine specimen, and he's great as long as he's on the basketball court or the football field. As long as he's doing damage to other black people, then that's great. That's all entertainment for us. We like that. We want to see a boxing match where you beat each other's brains out. We want to see a football game where you're giving each other CTE. We want to see basketball games where you're dunking over each other and talking crazy to each other. We want to see a hip hop battle where you threaten to murder each other in the street. But you better not ever, you bet not ever, you bet not ever point that gun at us. Because if you point it at us, then you become like the zoo animal who eats a member of the audience. You're like the bear. The bear, see, the big bear is cute when the bear is riding a tricycle and following orders. But when the bear goes out in the crowd and mauls somebody in the audience, they're gonna put that bear to death. They're gonna shoot that bear. If you anybody remember Ron Artest? You remember when Ron Artest got hit by an object from the stands and he went up in the stands and he beat the crap out of the guy that hit him with something? And remember that they gave him one of the biggest punishments in NBA history. That was a statement. They were making a statement. They were like, no, 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 you can hit each other, but you better not hit us. Or if you remember Latrell Sprewell, some of y'all might be old enough to remember Latrell Sprewell, who was this basketball player who got into a fight with his coach, PJ Carlesimo, and he choked the coach. He too, at the time, got the biggest, longest suspension in NBA history. And that was racial. That was both of those incidents were very racial because it's saying like, no, who do you think you are? No, you're supposed to you beat up on each other, then we're going to give you a slap on the wrist. But if you beat up on one of us, then that's a problem. So this effort to consistently control the black man has it's nothing new. I think that intellectually controlling black men is extremely important. I think it's okay to be strong, athletic, and smart as long as you're contained, as long as they can sort of figure you out, as long as you fit into a system, right? So anyway, so guys like me, I don't fit into anybody's system. No, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm not doing that nonsense. I'm not going to go along with whatever you tell me to go along with. I'm going to come up with my own conclusions on who I want to be, and that they're inherently, makes you dangerous, right? That's why my Instagram page miraculously gets taken down, and I don't even know why. Oh, it's because you're dangerous. What do? I didn't beat anybody up. I'm not hurting anybody. Oh, my brain, it threatens you, and that's why you're seeking to control this. So anyway, let's keep going. Let me keep reading. All right, so here on page 122 in the book The Black History Reader, he says slavery was successful. Slaveholders developed effective techniques to control the behavior of the male slave, techniques that would cripple his children and their children for generations to come. The slave codes formalized many control techniques but left room for creativity. The black man was totally helpless before his white master, who used the psychology of harsh physical punishment to encourage the black man to submit to slavery, to break his independent will, and to shape the attitudes of the black boys in the slave pipeline. So the goal was not just to control the male slave, it was to control his seed. Right? I need to break you and break your children because your children are looking up to you. So this is the danger of these horrific images of black men that they put in media. The problem with putting up images of black men as irresponsible, sloppy, ignorant, gun-toting thugs is that that's what little boys emulate. Little boys look up and they say, "Oh, I want to be like him because he's got money and he's got fame." And there's not a thought to sort of what this is really doing to the culture. Is this man emulating someone who's going to be a great asset to the black community, or is he making himself into a great asset for the white community or white supremacy, if you want to call it that? Right? Because I don't think anybody who imitates rapper culture or even athlete culture is becoming, say, a great husband and father, or becoming the kind of man who says, I'm black first and I'm going to represent my community and I'm going to create jobs for black people. How often do you hear entertainers even talk like that? Even to say, we got to be independent. We got to go create jobs for our own. We got to take care of our own. There was a Boston Celtics player, Jaylen Brown, who said he wanted to use his money to build a black Wall Street. And that was revolutionary. That was like such a big deal. And I just thought that's so fascinating because everybody should be saying that. Everybody should be saying that. You know, why isn't why is that rare? Why is it incredible? Why is it like some sort of Juneteenth celebration whenever a celebrity acknowledges his own community? You're supposed to acknowledge. Do you think that Jewish athletes and entertainers are not supposed to be loyal to Israel? Look at what's happening right now. Look at how they're literally in a war right now. They're literally shaping any criticism of Israel as anti-Semitism, which is just unbelievable. But if you follow the money, you understand how all that works. I'm not even going to talk about it too much because I know who owns YouTube and all that stuff. So I'm trying not to get banned myself. So I got to be careful in terms of how deep I go with this conversation. But it's a nonsensical argument. It makes absolutely no sense. So at the end of the day, you should be defending your own. Why can't you rep your own? Why can't you talk about being black? Why does the fact that we have a convention called the All Black National Convention, why does that scare people? Well, this all comes from history. You got to read the history and you'll understand why. They trained you to be afraid of yourself and afraid of each other. So it says here, slaveholders developed. Okay, let's see. Let me go. The slave codes formalized many control techniques, but left room for creativity. Let's see here. The black man was totally helpless before his white master, who used the psychology of harsh physical punishment to encourage the black man to submit to slavery, to break his independent will, and to shape the attitudes of black boys in the slave pipeline. The slave owners did this by demeaning the man in front of his family so that it was clear that the black man could not protect them. So not only do they demean you and break your son, they're breaking everybody who's watching. Do you understand? People are just devastated when they see their hero destroyed right in front of them. Have you ever heard anybody really talk about, like, for example, watching their father get old and sick? Has anybody ever gone through that? Where you were lucky, maybe you were lucky enough to have a father that you admired and looked up to. My father was one of the strongest men I ever knew. My father would kill for his family, and he's killed people he's protected people. He's a strong man. So to watch him get old and to break down, it's very hard. It makes you feel like, gosh, whoa, somebody's got to step in. What's going on? So for the black woman to watch the black man walk around on his knees, that is devastating for her. That makes her feel like, God, I'm scared now. I either have to realign myself with a white man who can really protect me, or I got to learn how to become a man myself. And none of these things are natural, in my opinion. None of these things actually work. But that's why I think everyone was so excited when Meghan Markle married the slave master from across the sea from England because he had all this money. They didn't even spend 1 second saying, well, how did this man get all this money? Did they even consider the fact that the reason the royal family has all this money is because they've gone around the world killing black people and taking all their stuff? No, it's so romantic. It's a beautiful royal wedding. She's as wealthy as can be, and that's as far as people will go. So ultimately, I think that for black men, I think black boys have to be educated separately from everyone else. I really do. I think that black boys have to be educated by black men, real men, not these 45-year-old teenagers. I'm talking about real men. And I think that it has to be completely detached from all the systems that exist in society because men have to build systems of their own. If you want to succeed, you're going to have to build your own stuff. You'll never be invited into another man's house and have that man make you the king of that house. You'll never be the king of another man's house. In order to be a king, you must learn how to build a castle. In order to be a king, you must learn how to build a castle. If you cannot build a castle, you will never be a king. And so ultimately, these young boys who have all the ability in the world, they can do so many amazing things. We try to squeeze them in this stupid little system, and it does not work. You cannot squeeze a little Boyce Watkins into this bullshit. I'm literally the guy who would get fired on his day off. I got in trouble every day at school because that white lady from the suburbs didn't understand me and I didn't like her. I did not fit in college. I was really seen as extreme in college, and I was because if something didn't make sense, I wasn't gonna pretend like it did. I was the same guy when I was 24. I was just a less mature version of what I am now, but I was still pretty smart. I was teaching college students at 24 years old, and I was like, this is stupid. How come this department in this university has zero black professors in it? And I'm giving you all my money and you can't even get a black person to teach me. That ain't right. That ain't fair. So little things like this, it's gonna infuriate an intelligent person. So if you are smart, if you are built to be a leader, if your son is built to be his own man, he's gonna have to have a space that allows him to do that. and you got to give him tools that allow him to develop that. You can't teach a lion to become a sheep. He's going to be very frustrated. He's going to have to shave off all his lion mane and put on sheep wool and just. And I mean, what the hell? He's a sheep that's going. Every now and he's going to want to roar, and the other sheep are going to tell him, "No, you're not supposed to roar. You're supposed to go bah. You're not supposed to lead. You're supposed to follow." And some of y'all got little lions, and you dress them up like sheep. You take these big, strong boys, and you put a dress on them, and you say fit into the system. And then when they stand up for what is right, some black person is standing right over top of them, telling them to sit down. Every time it's time for you to stand up, somebody tells you to sit your black ass right back down. And that's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. But you gotta prepare them for battle. If they are not prepared, they cannot fight. Because this game is not an easy game. It is ruthless. Your adversaries will kill you. They will all throughout history, thousands of years, when one group conquers another group, the men are brutal, especially to the other men. They will kill you, they will rape your woman, and they will enslave your children. That's what they did thousands of years ago. Now the modernized version of that is that the black men have been eliminated. They've been put in prison and killed, or left unemployed or marginalized. Different ways of killing, or maybe aborted before they're even born. And then the women grow up feeling that they don't have anybody to protect them. So some of them end up dating white men and talking about how wonderful white men are, or maybe some of them become masculine in order to compensate because they have to do that, right? And then your children pretty much become slaves, just like the old days. Your children become slaves to corporate America, or they will look up to and admire anybody who comes through and gives them the resources they need. So I personally think that black men have to be taught to be providers of resources. I really do. So let me keep reading here. Let me back up off that tangent. So thank you for letting me share that. So Dr. Anderson says that the slave owners pretty much controlled the black male by demeaning him in front of his family. So it's very clear that to make sure others saw him being demeaned. The slave owners. Let's see here. Okay, and then he says it has long been the role of males in most cultures. See, this is him reinforcing what I was just saying here. He says it has long been the role of males in most cultures to provide for and protect the family, and to provide leadership and training to the children. So men are supposed to provide, protect, and provide leadership and training. And what's interesting to me is I think about how many guys I know who can't provide for anybody, can't even provide for themselves, don't want to protect anything, can't protect anything, are not equipped for leadership. You haven't been psychologically healed. Your trauma has messed you up so much that literally you're an inadequate leader because you'd never learned leadership skill. And then training. If you're not educated, then no one. Not only can you not train anybody else, but people aren't going to listen to you. Black women are highly educated. They are super educated. They're super smart. Most of them, not everybody, right? And there's exceptions to everything. But generally speaking, black women are the most educated group of people on the planet. So if you bring training and leadership that is highly inadequate and incompetent, she's gonna naturally say, "I don't understand. This does not make sense to me. I don't want to follow stupid rules." So anyway, so the point is that men have to be built up. I did something years ago, and let me tell you on a true story. I did something years ago that I created. I should bring it back. It was called BOMB, and it stood for Building Outstanding Men and Boys. And it was my belief back in, this was 2013, where I said we need to build better boys and better men in our community. We have to build them just like you manufacture a product on an assembly line. We need to override what my friend Speech from Arrested Development. Speech, he was in our movie B1 the movie. He has a documentary called the N Word Factory. The IGA factory. I'm gonna say IGA factory. So he says basically they manufacture IGAs the same way you manufacture Teslas on an assembly line, the same way you manufacture, auto parts or household goods. And so we need to have a manufacturing process that builds men that are prepared to lead. And I remember, here's what happened. So I went and talked to some people. Back then, I talked to a lot of different civil rights leaders and stuff. The URL is b1themovie.com, b1themovie.com. So anyway, I went and talked to certain civil rights leaders about this because I was still trying to learn certain things and understand things. So what happened was I talked to these leaders, and I kid you not, I remember the first response I got was like this resistance. And I was like, why would you resist to the idea of us raising our boys to be stronger, to because they got a big battle ahead of them. Maybe we should systematically develop the kinds of men that we want to see. Just like India said, we need more engineers, and so they started mass producing engineers. I think, or is it China? I'm sorry, China. China said we need more engineers. So as a result, China produces more engineers in a year than India, Japan, and the United States combined. That's what China does, and they're better equipped. They're able to go on the job on day one and start getting patents and developing products. Our engineers take 2 years on the job to even just learn the basics. That's how far ahead of us China is because they don't play. So anyway, I remember that I got resistance, and the resistance came from this idea that we are responsible for our own fate and our own plight. The resistance was they said, well, we don't need to build better boys. What we need is we need to create more jobs, and we need to change the system, and or something. It was something about the economy, and they need to create more jobs and opportunities in black neighborhoods. And I said, yeah, we do. Maybe we do need more opportunities, 100%. But what does that have to do with us being committed to building stronger boys and stronger men? And that was when I became uh, more aware. I was learning just how anti-black some of the liberalism actually is. How that paternalism creates a scenario where you take intelligent, fully capable young black boys and you start treating them like they are disabled. You start treating them like they're little wimpy little rag dolls that just get slapped around by society and have no say in their outcomes in life. They call this, psychologists refer to this as learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is when you are fully trained to believe that you can't do nothing to fix your situation, that you have no say in your outcomes. And what people don't understand is that this is one of the most insidious, most horrific forms of white supremacy that there is. It is. Because how am I, as a grown ass man, going to get respect from that woman in the other room if I go to her and I say, baby, we can't eat because I'm waiting on the white man to bring us some food. And baby, we can't do nothing with the kid. We can't train the kids because we don't got no white folks around to make sure that they learn and everything. We got to they gonna learn them how to read, baby. So I can't do that because they I mean, if she's intelligent, which she is, if I'm hearing my man talk like that, you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna be like, well, if you can't do nothing without the white man's permission, why am I messing with you? I'm gonna cut out the middleman. I'm gonna go date him instead. I'm gonna go just get me a white man because apparently they have all the resources, all the know-how, all the institutions. They have everything that we need. So why don't I just get with him? Why am I wasting time with you? Because you sounding kind of like a little punk right now. So what I'm saying is that I just believe, generally speaking, since Dr. Anderson is talking extensively about how the black male is controlled by society and how this is a tradition, I kind of feel like it's important to start with just the very basics of just saying, what happens if we create a community where we at least train our boys to do their best? Sure, there are other variables. Sure, there are laws and there's police and there's the economic system and there's all these variables. 100%, I agree with you, but you can at least do your best. Get up off the couch, put down the weed, put down the liquor bottle, and go out and do and try. Just do your best. Pick up a book. Don't I don't play we can play the video games after we finish reading the book. I don't see anything wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that. And I remember just being kind of taken aback when I had black people. These are prominent, nationally recognized civil rights leaders who were saying these things to me, who were literally resistant to the idea of black people taking any accountability for our own plight in life. That's when I started to realize that was my own awakening. When I started realizing, man, I ain't sitting up in here because I am not a disabled Negro. I'm not. No, I wasn't raised like that. I wasn't raised to be no liability, no punk, no, sitting here waiting on other people to take care of me and waiting on my woman to do stuff I can do myself. No, 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 no. So some of us aren't built like that. And I know a lot of you are like veterans and soldiers, and I think that's why you come here because I think you get that. You understand what it means to fight. And fighting is something that doesn't guarantee you're going to win. See, to me, the best fighters are not the people who fight because they know that they're going to win. The best fighters are the people who fight when they know that they're probably going to lose. Right? To me, those are the real fighters. It's easy to fight when you think you're going to win, but what if you're going to lose? And there was a really great black man that really I just owe him everything. His name was W.C. Benton, and W.C. Benton was the only black professor on the entire faculty at Ohio State University because they were very racist. That was where I got my PhD, and they started messing with me because I didn't know I've never known how to keep my mouth shut. And in my PhD program, I probably should have stayed quiet till I graduated, but I got into it with those white folks, and they were just being white. You know how that goes. And WC went in there and he fought for me, and I owed him everything. He literally helped me get across the finish line with my PhD because it's very political. And I remember talking to WC. Let me tell you about WC Benton. You should go Google him. He's one of the greatest on earth in his field. His field is like something related to logistics or something, but he's like one of the top three in the world in this. That's how great you had to be black and to get a job at Ohio State because they didn't really hire black people. That's how racist these people can be. So anyway, WC was a Marine. He was a veteran. And I remember one time I was eating with him and eating lunch, and I was talking about what they were putting me through and how hard everything was. And he said, Boyce, he said, when I was in the Marines, they taught us that you fire your gun until every single bullet is out of that gun. Even if you're surrounded, even if you know you're gonna die, you shoot until every single bullet is out of that gun. And I never forgot that. And I carry that with me, right? And I really think that generally speaking, I think that's a great life philosophy to carry through life. Just look, you might not win all the time. You might not be ready. You might not have anything that you need. You might not know what the hell you're doing. You starting that business, you feeling sloppy, raggedy. You don't have all the resources you need. But every single day, I think one philosophy you can carry in your back pocket that'll help you get through the day is just say, oh, look, I'm going to fire every bullet until every bullet is out of the gun. I'm going to give everything I've got. I may not be able to do everything, but I can do my best. That's an asset I own. The asset I own is my best, and I can invest that much in whatever I'm trying to do. And I'm gonna tell you this: people who think that way typically are people that are successful. I do, and I also think people who think that way get more respect from other people because what I've noticed is that in general, not all situations are the same, but I think that when I've talked to women that are annoyed with men who give up, is it's not so much that you don't have a lot of money, it's that you just aren't even trying, right? I know a lot of women that will respect a man who gets up and works hard every day, even if he's not making as much money as he wants, even if he's not as successful as he wants to be. It's just the act of getting up and knowing, okay, I got somebody who's really going to do his best on behalf of this family. So I think we should teach that to our sons. I think various core values should be instilled in our sons when they're young so they know what they're up against and they're out here ready to fight. And it's a hard fight because you've got different variables working against you. You've got the racism of the world, for sure. But then you've got other black males that will literally pull you down, that haven't healed, that are self destructive. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Drake's black bodyguard got shot by a black man, right? Again, I don't know. I don't know who's black and who's not. So maybe I'm speculating here. But I do know that black people can really harm each other. And so ultimately, your son's he's going to be fighting battles on two fronts. He's going to be fighting the white people, and he's going to be fighting the Iggas. He got two fights. He got the racists and the racists on one side and the Iggas on the other, and both of them are various manifestations of racism, and it all comes from the slave codes. All right, so let me read a little more here. So Dr. Anderson says it has long been the role of males in most cultures to provide for and protect the family, to provide leadership and training to children. When African men were brought to these shores, slavery interfered and perverted their normal masculine behavior patterns. Commercial enslavement was primarily a gender specific industry. The slaveholder feared the black man more than he feared the black woman. Until the early 1800s, nearly 80% of the slaves brought into this country were black men. How many of y'all knew that? That 80% were black men. That's a big number. In the 1600s, in the Virginia colony, both white women and black women were outnumbered by their male counterparts 4-1. I didn't know that. White slave owners wanted the strongest slaves that they could find and worked them to death before they were 40 years old. African women became important as breeders when the Constitution outlawed importing slaves after 1808. So when they could not import slaves anymore, they needed the black woman's womb to reproduce the product, which was us. It was true that black women having a higher birth rate, greater longevity, less harsh lifestyle, and being in a protected class with less chance of being killed allowed the number of black women to catch up to and surpass the number of black men. The slave codes had a psychological basis. The purpose was to create a population of slaves that were docile, compliant, and would never rise up against the slaveholders. So that was the goal. They need to make you docile, compliant, follow orders, and never rise up against your master. Slavery had an effect on those who imposed the harsh treatment. They became dehumanized and conditioned to inflicting pain. Thus, the slave codes had psychological effects that lasted for generations on both the whites who imposed the treatment as well as the recipient blacks. So white people were affected by the slave codes too. Like I even think about during the O.J. Simpson trial, all that was lynch mob behavior. Like that, like the fact that they were so angry at him, like madder at him than they could be at almost anybody else. You couldn't tell me that didn't have something to do with race. That was all about race. The black people supported him partly because of race. White people hated him largely because of race. It doesn't mean maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. It's up to you to make that decision. But race was everything in that case. If he had been a white man, it wouldn't have gotten the same reaction. Let's see here. Okay, so the slave codes had psychological effects that lasted for generations. Okay, we said that. That conditioning is on display. That conditioning is on display today in many ways. For instance, when white police officers use excessive violence and even kill unarmed black men, that's one example. The slave codes crippled 15 generations of people. They kept black men from fulfilling the role of responsible fathers and husbands, degraded black people, made them hopeless and non-productive for anything other than slave duties, and criminalized nearly every normal behavior. So this is part of what the slave codes did. He says here, it is unconscionable for society to look at black people today, criticize their behavior, and ignore the permanent harm that whites, the slave codes, and similar laws intentionally inflicted on an entire race of people. While the slaveholding ancestors designed the system of slavery and applied the pain and degradation, whites today enjoy the benefits. When the psychological damage is added to the fact that blacks could not benefit from the resources found in this country, in fact, were considered a resource. So not only did you not benefit from the resource, but you were a resource. They were considered a resource. It is a wonder. It is a wonder that any blacks have managed to rise above the legacy of slavery. Blacks will need resources from the dominant society to rehabilitate their race. The call for reparations should come from fair-minded people. It should not only come from blacks. So basically, what he's saying is that any white person who claims to be your friend should be supporting reparations. If you can't support reparations, we can't be friends, at least not politically. You're not going to get anything from me unless you can support reparations. If you can't support reparations, then I'll just have to meet you in the next life, or you're going to have to go get it on your own, or whatever. My support is not going to come easy. It's not going to come free. I need you to support what we believe in order for this to work. Now, one thing I want to mention to you guys really quick, if you allow me to, is that one thing that we've been really trying to do for a long time with the Black Business School is we wanted to support the voices of women in the community, particularly educated professional women, those of you that ain't twerking for a living and stuff like that. The smart women in the world, in the community. So one of the things we did is we actually have a YouTube channel. It's flynubianqueentv.com, and Fly Nubian Queen TV. It's been there for a while. It has about 500,000 subscribers, probably about 1 billion views by now. And so every single morning, every afternoon, about 1 o'clock, there is a show there called Fly Nubian Money. So it's a group of sisters that get together and they pretty much do their thing, and they're super smart. My wife Alicia is one of them. She comes in as the therapist, but we also have attorneys and CPAs and actresses and people that real estate investors and all kinds of people that come together, and they talk about life and they talk about money as well. So they do this every single day at 1 p.m. So if you would like to be notified when they are live, when when they're doing the show, pull out your phone and text the word Queens to that number 87948. So if you text Queens to 87948, I will send you a link to join tomorrow. They need your support. We got to support the women as much as we support the men. And if you come to the All Black National Convention, you'll see some of the great women that we've had there, and we have a lot of great men as well. And of course, the brothers get their props too. But like Shaleigh Camilo, yesterday, Shaleigh Camilo, who's a real estate expert, was here in the Black Business School doing Dr. Boyce Real Estate with a private session. And then also, I spoke today with a young lady named Asia Kirkendall. And I mention these names because I think that we need to know about these great people that are doing great things. I know a lot of people are proprietary and protective of their platform and stuff like that, and we want to share, names and spaces and faces of people that can help you. So Asia Kirkendall is the creator of something called quantum wealth theory. I talked to Asia today. She's going to come to the All Black National Convention. Chalet is going to be there. Dr. Lene Javette is our dean of entrepreneurship. So we've got just amazing people. And so anyway, so if you pull out your phone, text the word Queens, Queens with an S, to 87948. And if you can come in and support the ladies, I would really appreciate it. Because to be honest with you, the internet's kind of a mean, brutal place. And what happens is that sometimes when black women are talking, you've got these little, I call them little bitchy boys out here that just can't stand black women, that say things to just be mean, deliberately harmful, to hurt their feelings. And so I think that if we show up and we really support them, that will make sure we create a protective space where they can come in there and do their thing and be respected and be loved the way they love us. So again, text Queens to 87948. I'll send you guys the link tomorrow so you can join the ladies that fly Nubian Queen. Did I say it right? Did I get it out okay? I hope that's okay. Thank you for letting me share that. All right. So here is so let's go to, we're reading the Black History Reader by Dr. Claude Anderson, and we're on page 124. And this is really interesting, I think, in terms of information we should understand and put it into context in terms of what's happening in our community right now. So he asked this question: why was it a criminal offense to teach blacks to read and write? Like, what made it criminal? Like, why did they have a problem with people learning how to read? Now we try to get the kids to read, and some of them don't want to read, right? So here's why they did not want black people to read and write. He says here, the European colonists opposed educating black people because they knew that educated blacks, just like educated whites, would not tolerate being enslaved, brutalized, and exploited. So they knew that education was dangerous, right? But that's pimping 101. You'll never show me, you can never show me a pimp who wants to make sure all his hoes went to college. A pimp does not want his hoes to have master's degrees and critical thinking skill. He doesn't want his employees. Let's call them employees. The word "hoe" is kind of a harsh word. He doesn't want his employees to be sitting around and really philosophizing about the meaning of life and really thinking carefully about every decision. He doesn't want that. He wants them high and drunk. He wants them insecure. He wants them uneducated. If you have the insecure, uneducated, drug addicted, financially dependent, hooker, then that's a perfect employee. You can control that person, right? So basically, just like any other abuser, any other pimp, they wanted black people to be in that same situation. They wanted you to be they wanted your self-esteem to be shot. They wanted you to have no economic resources of your own, because when you're economically free, you start getting an attitude and you get to do what you want. They did not want you to be educated, because education means exposure to ideas. And that, just like that animal in the cage, if that animal starts to understand the cage and why he's in the cage and how the cage works, then not only is he going to question the cage, he's going to have an issue with the person who's running the cage, which means that you come in that cage, he's going to eat you. And then he's also going to figure out how to get out of the cage. So imagine if you took a lion that's in a cage and you gave that lion the IQ of an Einstein. So suddenly this lion is super, super smart. So he understands how the cage is built, why the cage is wrong, that you're responsible for his enslavement. So he's going to eat you, and then he's going to figure out how to break himself out of that cage. So then you got a lot of problems. He's not down for the cause anymore. He's not going to play his position anymore. So when black folks get educated, when we've been reading books and have exposure to ideas and stuff like that, this is why the Marcus Garveys and people like that are so dangerous. This is why the Dr. Claude Andersons are so dangerous, because they give you information and knowledge to understand how the cage was built, how to get out of the cage, and who's responsible for incarcerating you in the first place. That's very powerful information. All right, so let's see here. So he says, an educated person would fight back and revolt. Whites knew that the best way to protect their financial investment and their lives was to impose ignorance on blacks. They therefore instituted public policies that stipulated that any white person caught teaching a black person to read and write would be fined $100 and suffer 39 lashes with a whip. Give me a yes or no. How many of y'all never learned that in school? That a white person caught teaching a black person how to read and write would get fined $100 and get 39 lashes with a whip. So not only were they punishing black people for learning how to read and write, they were willing to even punish white people for teaching you to read and write. That's how much of a threat black education is. That's how much of a threat black knowledge is. That's how much of a threat intelligent black people are. So why? So what do you think if they think about people like me? Because I'm not only smart, I'm smarter than they are. I'm smarter. I can educate their kids. So basically, and this is why every time I talk, I say this is a home for intelligent black people. Because what I'm doing is I'm gathering the smartest, baddest, strongest warriors and saying, let's go, let's ride on these fools. Let's go and let's make something happen. Let's get together, pull together our collective power, and remind them of why they should be scared of us. Intelligent black people are scary. They're more scary than any gangster. They're more scary than any thug. They're more scary than any rapper. They're more scary than any athlete. They're more scary than any entertainer because educated black people, intelligent black people, when I say educated, I'm not talking about you going to school. I'm talking about being intelligent. I'm talking about being a thinker. I'm talking about seeking knowledge. People who are like that way, who think that way, who also have healed, so you're mentally balanced, so you can actually focus on an objective and accomplish it. Also, because you've healed, you are capable of things like collaboration and teamwork, which is something that they depend on black people not having the ability to do. They depend on you not being able to form teams. They've structured laws to ensure and rules and cultural norms that ensure that you're not going to come together because they knew that you are most dangerous. Pay attention now. You're most dangerous when you are informed and when you collaborate. Do you understand? When you are informed and you collaborate, that's very scary. That becomes in their mind, they're seeing Planet of the Apes. Anybody remember how Planet of the Apes when you had Caesar, the smart ape, who became really smart and helped all the other apes get smarter, and then he started collaborating with the apes. The apes dominated the humans. So let's just be real. The movie Planet of the Apes ain't nothing but a documentary of fear that the white man has of the black man rising up and coming together. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of seeing us smarter than they are and working together. That I'm sure scares the hell out of people. And it's definitely true in industries like hip hop, where they're like, look, we want y'all beefing with each other, but we never want you beefing with us. But if Kendrick Lamar and Drake got together and said, why don't we just get together and use our collective power to take down Leor Cohen and Clive Davis and expose them for the people that they are, oh, that would be very nerve wracking. One of them would have charges filed on them or something. They would be going to prison because you can't do that. You can't fight your master. That's not appropriate. So this is evidence. This is the proof. This is all in Dr. Anderson's book. Right here in the Black History Reader, he says that black people, white people, were punished for teaching black people how to read. That's crazy. So let's keep reading here. He says later there were numerous records and instances where blacks were lynched for carrying a book or a newspaper. So if you were black and you got caught with a book or a newspaper, they might lynch you for that, especially in the South. Teaching people to read and write was a crime only when it applied to educating blacks. Schools were established and operated for immigrants and American Indians, making blacks the only people who, for centuries, were subjugated to impose ignorance. You were the only group in American history where they literally made laws to make sure that you stayed as ignorant as possible. And if you don't believe that this happened, then just look all around you and look at how many people now are voluntarily ignorant. Don't want to learn nothing. Don't wouldn't pick up a book to save their life. He says here, the last thing white America, and especially in the South, needed were blacks. Sorry, let me say that again. The last thing white America, and especially the South, needed were black slaves capable of reading, writing, and challenging the nation's socioeconomic system. So the last thing they needed were people that were smart enough and intelligent enough to actually question and challenge the cage that was all around them. Whites in the North, these are your friends, by the way. These are your allies. So he's referring to whites in the North. Whites in the North harbored the same fears as their Southern counterparts. And education for the majority of blacks in the country was nearly non existent as a matter of practice. So even your allies, your friends, didn't want you to be educated either because you were going to compete. They don't, the thing is, It's all about competition. That's what Dr. Anderson is drilling into. I hope you all understand this. Powernomics is all about competition. Powernomics is all about all the rules that were put in place, all the processes and procedures that were designed to make sure that you are never able to truly compete. So even the people that claim to be your friends, they will be your friends as long as they can be your friends in a paternalistic way. They say, look, hey, we see how bad you're being treated. We're not going to leave you on the side of the road. You can get on the bus, but we got to drive the bus. We own the bus, and we're going to sit in the front seat of the bus. That's those are the rules. But we need you on the bus because the more people we have on the bus, the more money we make. So we want black kids in our public schools, but we don't want black people running public schools. But we need the black kids there because we get paid for every head of every child that shows up every day. We want black people in the prisons, and we so that these little towns can make billions of dollars from running these penitentiaries, but we don't want them actually voting or having any say in how things are being run in these prisons. So again, just like going to McDonald's, you have the employees, you have Ronald McDonald, the mascot, but Ronald McDonald does not run McDonald's, but the mascot is a very important part of the McDonald's brand. So you are the mascot, you are the employees, or you are the commodity that makes the institution valuable, but your presence is not one that is called upon for leadership and guidance of that institution. Do you understand? They want you on the bus, but they don't want you drive the bus. They don't want you on the bus. They don't want you in the front seat of the bus. I could keep going on and on and on. There's many, many examples of this. So they need you. They want you around. They want to integrate you, but they do not want to integrate you in a way that is going to lead you to be competitive to them. It's like the way people love the family dog. Like there are people that really love their dogs. Like white people love their dogs. Like, they really do. And some of y'all are black and y'all got dogs and you love your dogs too. But really, they you know what I'm talking about. They just like kiss them in the mouth and everything. It's kind of weird. But anyway, they love their dogs. But never once do they ever presume that the dog is truly a member of the family. If the house is burning down and they have a choice between saving one of the kids and saving the dog, most families are not going to choose the dog. They're going to save the child first, and then maybe they'll go back and get Fluffy. They'll be sad if Fluffy dies, so they want Fluffy there, but they don't want Fluffy to think that Fluffy is the man of the house. Like the father doesn't adopt Fluffy, saying, "I want you to sleep with my wife, eat the big piece of chicken, and sleep in the master bedroom." That's not appropriate. Well, why is it not appropriate? Well, because he's a dog. Right? Why would you want a dog to be the husband and the father of the house? So the same thing is true, I think, when they look at black people. It's like we love black people. They're great. They're great entertainers. They're great athletes. They have great culture. They make great music. So we want them around. We like them to be present. They're great commodities. We have them in the school system. We make more money when they're buying products. We make more money when they rent from us. We make more money. But we don't want them actually in a position of control and power in any of these institutions. So basically, you're fluffy. That's what you are. T. Jackson says, "Wow, I'm fluffy." That's true. You're fluffy. And the only way Fluffy is going to break out of his position is if he fights a little bit. He's going to have to increase his intelligence and maybe collaborate with the other Fluffies and say, wait, this ain't right. This ain't right. And then what's going to happen is that there's inherently going to be a conflict. See, competition comes with conflict. Some of y'all scared of conflict. We're scared to piss off people and to say things that are going to ruffle feathers or whatever, make your boss mad or offend the Democrats or whatever. But no, I think that conflict is necessary for you to move out of your position. You kind of just say, look, the way you have things structured now does not benefit me. I'm renegotiating this, and that's going to require you to have a certain level of self-esteem where you're truly prepared for that battle. I don't think we're prepared for the battle because we're not even financially secure. We're not even financially secure. If you're not financially secure, how the hell are you going to go to war with your boss when you don't even have enough money to pay your bills? You cannot go to war with an entity that you depend on for your existence. That's like our kids going to war with us in this house. What that look like? They can't tell us what to do in this house. I pay the mortgage in this house. Me and my wife run this house. The children don't own any of this. You're here because we allow you to stay here. You eat because we feed you. If we decide to starve you out, we gonna starve you out. So at the end of the day, you going to war with a group of people that control your economic fate and also control your access to your own self-esteem and validation is honestly almost like you trying to go to war with God. It's like you trying to go to war with your creator. Because a lot of black people were created by white people. meaning that they were created in the sense, think about it like this. When we talk about who we are and you say, well, who are you? And someone might say, well, I'm an Academy Award winning, Pulitzer Prize winning author with a degree from Yale University who is a vice president at Google. Well, all those stamps and labels that you put on yourself that validate you and make you feel important, like I'm in the NBA or whatever, all those were given to you by the oppressors who control these institutions that gave you those labels and validation that then make you feel like you are somebody. So that becomes your identity. And that's the problem. That's where your parents screwed you, because you should have had your identity before they started slapping all these labels on your black ass, but you didn't have it. So you grabbed all these labels, and then sometimes we even do it when we shop for consumer items. Why is it so important for you to have Gucci on your body? Well, because that's another label that makes you feel like you're fly and you're better than other people because you've got this European man's name on your body. Don't even know the man, but you're going to give him $3,000 to have Louis Vuitton on your purse, on your pants, on your shoes, and on your hat. And then you take a picture on Instagram and you're proud of that. But when I see that, somebody like me, I see that and I say, wow, that Negro has a lot of labels. But that labeling is what impacts his self esteem. That self esteem, pay attention now. I hope you're getting this. Let me know if you're getting this. That creates his whole identity. So for some people, when you take away their labels, they don't just lose, like for some people, when they lose their job, they're not just losing a job. They're losing their whole existence of who they define themselves as. That's a very dangerous place to be. Let me give you a real life example. There was a guy named Vince Carter, I believe, or not Vince Carter. He played football for the University of Texas. He won the Heisman Trophy. Vince Young in like about '06, '05, he won the national championship. He was an extraordinary player. He was amazing. And so they put him on the cover of ESPN the magazine. And I remember I saw the cover of the magazine and he said something like, I was born to play quarterback at the University of Texas. And at that moment, when I read that, because this was years ago, about 15 years ago, and I was on the faculty of Syracuse at that time, and at that moment, I felt so sorry for him. I really felt sorry for him. I said, that's amazing that it sounds to me like he's shaping a big chunk of his personal identity on football and playing for the University of Texas. I said, so if that ever gets taken away from him, you're gonna have to he's gonna have to be on suicide watch, because he's gonna, because that'll be like losing his whole identity. So years later, this is a true story. So years later, he goes to the NFL. It doesn't go the way he thinks it's gonna go. I guess he thought he's gonna be the next, whatever Tom Brady is now. He thought he'd be at that level, but he wasn't. And he ends up getting cut from the Tennessee Titans, I believe. And I remember reading another report where they said that he was so depressed and sad by getting cut from the team that he drove off, and they were worried. They were worried that he was going to take his own life. And in my mind, again, maybe I'm speculating on this, but I've seen this happen in so many cases, is that by taking away his ability to play football, by taking away his all, this affiliation with the NFL and all these other things, you were stripping him of his identity. You were taking away who he was as a person. And so my feeling is that with our children, and in fact, this is why in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, we give like these little bachelor's degrees to the kids so they can identify themselves in a way that is more appropriate for what's going to actually benefit them long term. Also, in a way that other people can't just take it away from them, right? So my thought is, if we really work with the kids when they're young and help them shape their identity in a way that is beneficial to themselves and beneficial to the community and under their own power and control, that's going to help them avoid the trappings of being caught in letting other people shape their identity in a way that others can simply take it away. You understand? Like, so for example, when an actor gets out of line in Hollywood, well, they take away his ability to win Oscars and Grammys and all these other awards, these other sources of validation. Or if you get out of line on your job and you decide you want something better for your life, well, they can take away your job and take away that important position, which can also take away a piece of your identity. So you can't get attached to these things, because it is very unhealthy and very much a security risk to become dependent on something that you personally do not control. Do you understand? This is something that the United States applies. The United States applies this policy when it comes to their economics. We don't allow ourselves as a country to become dependent on a commodity that is controlled by somebody else. there are laws that will limit the number of media outlets that are allowed to be owned by other people, so they can't control American media. That's what the whole banning of TikTok is all about. Uh, there are laws that say that other countries can't own major airlines in the United States. They can't own things like utilities and electricity companies and stuff like that. And there are other areas where they say, no, this is critical to national defense. We're not going to sell everything to other people because we know that that's too dangerous. So the thing with us is, the question is, what are we what are the things that we own that money can't buy? What are some things that we will protect in a way where we say, this is bigger than just how much money I get. I have to maintain protection and security in this. Like even when it comes to income, we'll talk about how much money someone makes, but we never talk about the security, financial security of that income stream. Like you can make a lot of money, but are you vulnerable? What if somebody decided to take that away from you? Can they do that? And if the answer is yes, then you may be doing well, but your position is very fragile. So black people in general are trained to be fragile. We're trained to be in a position where we're not sturdy and capable of making a recovery in case people who have an issue with us decide to punish us or take something away from us. Like the civil rights movement, affirmative action, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I agree with all those things. I think all those things were necessary and appropriate. The problem is that they were fragile, because you saw that once we became dependent on these things, I can't tell you how many people I know who were DEI experts. They made their whole career around DEI. Their whole doctorate was DEI. They would go speak at universities and corporations about DEI. And these poor people were devastated when they just decided, we don't want to do DEI no more. We're done with that. We don't want to do that no more. So that tells me that you didn't necessarily think about how fragile your position is. You got to think about these things. You can't depend on other people for things that you're going to need, because when the war comes down, first thing that the enemy does when you are in a battle is they say, what is it that I control that I can take away from this person to get their behavior back in line or to undermine their progress? Again, think of it like the kids living in our house. They're dependent on me and my wife for definitely for food and a place to stay. So if they ever really tried to go to war with us, first thing we could do is take the money back. Like if I'm giving you allowance, oh, I'm keeping your allowance. You want a trip? Okay, cool. Well, you know what? If you don't like it here, you can go live somewhere else. I am the one that's feeding you. You do understand that, right? That you can't fight with me. They can't go to war with us. We run this. Like they're playing checkers, we're playing chess. They are on dimension. This is why financial consciousness is so important. Their consciousness goes up to, let's say, level 2. They're living in the institution. Our consciousness goes to level 3. We built the institution. Do you understand? The person who built the cage always has a level of consciousness that exceeds the person that's in the cage. So we live in the cage that they built. So the question is, can we commit? And I think many of you are very intelligent people. That's why you're here. This isn't for everybody. Everybody can't even. A lot of people can't even get this. But it's okay. You're gonna get this. Can you elevate enough where you can create a scenario where whatever institution you're affiliated with, you are the master of that fate. You are the God that manifests that reality. You're working for your own business because you built that business. Sure, it would have been easier for you to go get a job working for somebody else, but because your consciousness is elevated, you want to see an institution built in your own image. You don't want to be forced to reflect an image that was created by somebody else. What the hell do you look like going into some pre-built institution dressing like a white man? It's not gonna work. You ain't white. It'll never work. So my thought is, why don't we raise our children to have that level of economic manifestation and financial consciousness? One way that we do that is not just by training them, but also by equipping them. Money is power. Money is a weapon. Money is used for defense. Money is used to conquer. So if you have enough resources to defend yourself, at the very least, you can make sure that no one will come along and conquer you. It is much harder to conquer an educated black boy who has plenty of financial resources than it is to conquer an ignorant black boy who is struggling to get his next meal. So a black boy who is trained on powernomics, who is practicing powernomics, is gonna be much harder to pull into slavery than a boy who is playing strugglenomics. A lot of our kids are playing survivornomics. Their whole life is a game of survivor because nobody trained them and nobody equipped them. You didn't give them nothing to fight with, and they out in this battlefield butt ass naked, begging anybody who with a dollar to put some food in their stomach. So no wonder they're making crazy choices. No wonder they're stuck. No wonder they have to submit to slavery. You can't win if you don't prepare. So how are you preparing your children? How are you getting them ready? You got to think about these things. All right. So if you want to know about that conversation I was having with our daughter's friend, I was preparing her. I was like, well, the best thing I can do for you because I care about you is prepare you for life. And I told her, I said, yeah, you could go work for other people if you want, but actually that's not even necessary. If you ever want to know how to go through life and not have to work for anybody, just talk to me and I can give you some strategies. Hey, oh, here's the skills you want to have. Because I have a higher level of consciousness. I see the world as a 52-year-old. I can look at her at 17 and count up all through the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s of her life and say, okay, here's the move that you should be making at 17. So that by the time you're 25 and 30, you'll be here, and then you'll be here, and then you'll be here. I see things in a different way. So my consciousness is higher. It's almost like when I'm in an airplane and I'm in the sky and she's on the ground in traffic, I can say, go left because there's a clearer path. You can't see it, but you got to go left. So this is what your consciousness does. This is why I want you to take this back to your family, because we operate on a high plane here. This is designed, these conversations. This is why every morning we do the financial consciousness thing. People didn't know what it means. I was like, how do I explain what financial consciousness is? It's just freaking awareness, man. It's awareness. It's like understanding how the game is built, not understanding just how to win, how to make your next move, and how to win the game, but understanding who designed the damn game. Do I even have to play in this game? You understand? Like that those are the questions you have to ask. Like I don't even like this. I don't even want to be here. Like this is a stupid game. I'm gonna design my own game over here. And then I'll design it in a way where my team can win. So you got to elevate your consciousness. And what Dr. Anderson is saying here on page 124 of his book, The Black History Reader, which is at powernomics.com, I hope you'll support this brilliant man, is he's saying that you were trained to not play the game at all. You were trained to not even understand how the game works. And they deliberately made effort. They put it into law. They codified the idea of keeping black people as ignorant as they could possibly be so they will never understand how this whole thing works. But when we had those ancestors who came right out of slavery with fewer resources than you have, and they were building one room schools and educating children at a level that's better than the entire damn Chicago public school system, that showed you the potential of what happens when we make a conscious choice to elevate our consciousness in our thinking and each one teach one and to form strategies of collaboration in the community. There's nothing we can't do when we put our mind to it, but you got to put your mind to it. So figure out what the hell you want, who you're supposed to be, where your kid's supposed to be at, and you go make that happen. Don't you be scared of nobody. I don't care if you win the fight. All I care about is that you choose to fight. So what is your battle? Fight. Let's fight that battle. I'll be happy to help you in any way I can. Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. I smell some good food. That means my wife cooked. And in case you don't know, my wife is a hell of a cook. And so, with that said, a couple quick reminders, if you allow me to share. We do Monday in the morning, tomorrow morning. Every morning we do financial consciousness training. If you'd like to join, it's totally for free. Just text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text morning to 87948. I shared a stock that I like if you want help with investing, stuff like that. And that stock was CrowdStrike. I didn't mention this, but I did buy shares of CrowdStrike. The ticker symbol CRWD, CRWD. So that's something to look at. This is not investing advice. It's just me, telling you what I'm about to buy. I'm going to buy it tomorrow. Sorry about that. Also, a couple more things. The Get Money Fest, hosted by Jay Ortiz in Philadelphia, is going to be on May 18th. So I think the tickets are free. But I think that it's like standing room only. So if you want to have a seat and all that, I think that that's a VIP level ticket. But then also it gives you access to the VIP speakers and stuff like that. And it's great because it's like sort of an art and music festival with a big financial literacy component. There are experts on branding and developing business and getting funding and Forex and everything else. And I'm going to be one of them. I'm going to do some speaking as well. So if you'd like to learn more, you can go to getmoneyfest.com. That's getmoneyfest.com. It's going to be in Philadelphia, May 18th. I will be there. What else? Also, don't forget that we have the All Black National Convention that's happening October 25th to the 27th. And I'm going to get that link to for speakers and panelists. We're not going to have that many panelist spots, so if you don't get selected, don't feel bad. But I know a lot of you are brilliant. A lot of you are doing amazing things. You just maybe need some help getting a bigger platform. So what I'm going to do is I told the team, I said, when we bring people to speak at the convention, I want us to get people out of our crew. I want us to get people that are right here in the family because you support me. And this stuff is not easy. It's very, very hard to be in a position of any sort of guidance or leadership of the Black community just because there's so much weirdness and dysfunction. So those of you who've been consistent with us, we're going to be consistent with you. So we're going to let you all apply first. And so every year we pick out a couple people and they become pretty well known because we have a good platform. So we'd love to share that with you. So I will bring that to class and there'll be a link and you can apply. Having a video of yourself speaking or something would be helpful and sort of some evidence to show that you know what you're talking about and that you've been kind of doing it so that we can kind of know what sort of people to bring together to create a great convention. The convention is going to be October 25th through the 27th in Lombard, Illinois, which is right outside Chicago. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com to get your tickets. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. Now, the ticker symbol for that stock earlier is CrowdStrike, and the ticker is CRWD. That's California redwood wooden donkey. So there we go. I did that totally wrong. You can tell I haven't been flying the airplanes that much lately because I totally messed up the phonetic alphabet. But I hope that helps. All right, again, not investing advice, just me sharing with you something that I'm actually going to invest in for my family. So I'll see you all tomorrow morning for financial consciousness training. I hope you guys have a great night. I hope this is beneficial. And also, don't forget next Wednesday at 8:30 every week we do our Powernomics training. So I'll also be back here for that too. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye bye.